Many of the problems we're having with newer engines is because of the addition of some of the emission controls. The 6.0 has an EGR, and we're going to talk about it. It has some high failure modes. The 6.4, we added diesel oxidation catalyst and a diesel particulate filter. And then in the 6.7, we added onto that a selective catalyst reduction system. Let's talk about the EGR first and get to that. Exhaust gas recirculation, or EGR, is a system that reduces emissions in the combustion chamber. It is an emission reduction system but will not be considered as an after treatment because it works during combustion. So this is the dividing line. Most everything else is going to be after treatment. This is part of the combustion process. It's going to change combustion. The PCM controlled EGR adds cooled exhaust gases, cooled somewhat by an EGR cooler, to the intake manifold to reduce oxides of nitrogen, NOx emissions commonly. You can see this one's pretty carboned up. The more time a vehicle spends idling, the more carbon you build up like this, and we're going to show you several situations like this. Here's where the EGR mounts to our intake manifold. You can see where it's mixing the red and the orange together, the mixture of red and orange feeding over the intake. Because the EGR is an exhaust stream, it will going to accumulate carbon and it's going to fail. Now, vehicles that spend a lot of time idling will accumulate carbon much faster. Ford has a method to measure to see how much time it spends idling. It's not an answer of how to fix it. They have a readout that says we have been operating for 6,054 hours. We have traveled 224,452 miles. Now, if we divide the miles by the hours, we will get the average miles per hour. Let's see how that works. 224,452 miles divided by 6,054 gives us an average speed of 37 miles an hour. Ford says that 33 miles per hour is kind of a correct average. And if you need to adjust it, you can adjust the interval. That should give us 277 hours between oil changes. So 37 miles per hour indicates this particular engine has a normal operating cycles and is not spending an excessive amount of time idling. Here's a different example. Similar type thing. We have 224,452 miles, but we have 12,440 hours to accumulate those. More hours, same mileage. That brings us down to 18.1, or rounded off 18 miles per hour average. Ford says it should be 33. Well, if we do the oil changes at 7,500 miles, that was based on 33 miles per hour. 18 indicates it's going to be idling much more and accumulating more hours than so we have to change our ratio. We're going to have to build up faster. For instance, the excessive idling time we're seeing here is going to contaminate the engine oil and cause more carbon buildup in the EGR and in the turbocharger. Both are areas we get failures in. To get near the normal service interval in time, the example vehicles would need to change the mileage from 7,700 to 4,000. If we did that at 18 miles an hour average and we changed every 4,000 miles, we would then be changing oil every 222 hours, which is right in line with what Ford says at 227. So utilize this to help change some of your servicing. Better to change by hours than by mileage. Here's our intake manifold, our EGR cooler, looking from the other side laying down. The EGR is going to mix gases coming in here, going to down the two runners. This is what it looks like going down those runners. Ideally, if everything were good, we would have equal flow on all cylinders. Now, as you can see, the further down this goes, the more restriction it's going to have, because the longer it travels down this dirty intake, the bigger the problem. There's several products out there we're going to talk about later that help reduce after combustion carbon buildup.